episode of Summon Your Superhuman. Today, I have a guest coming all the way from Colorado Springs. He is a father of two, an inspirational speaker, and he has a digital autism course, but we'll speak about that a bit later. And he has a book called Living Life Through Their Eyes, Our Journey Together on the Autism Spectrum. And he's a personal fitness trainer. So welcome to the show, Gary.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Now, let's dive in, because I do want to speak about your book, but just tell us a little bit about your story and your journey so far.
So yeah, I became a personal fitness trainer back in 2012, and basically I was immediately started to work at the YMCA, so a big box gym. And then 2 years after that, I really wanted to become an independent trainer so I can have more opportunity to work with different people. And the other reason, of course, was because my daughter Monica, she was diagnosed with autism. So I wanted to have more control and freedom of my schedule so I can be there for her as well.
Was that around the same time, Gary, so 2012, was that when she was diagnosed?
It was because I had to look back a little bit because of when we started therapy and all that, and the doctor's appointments. So I want to say roughly it was around 4 years old. So that would make it around 2009 or 10, just depending on what time of the year that was.
Okay. And so this book that you wrote in 2007, you wrote the book, was that correct?
2017, and it came out a little later. So
sorry, that's right.
No worries.
My bad. And so obviously from 2012, 2017, so your journey, learning how to adapt as a father and being there for her. I mean, I love the photos of her. She's just gorgeous. You can just see so much light in her eyes. And So this book, tell us about this book, because I actually got a lot out of it personally. It's if anyone knows of anyone that has a child with autism and wants to learn more. I mean, you took us through from the history of autism back in the early 1900s and how it's evolved and your specific strategies and things like that. So yeah, tell us about that.
So real quick before I do is, when we got diagnosed, I did not know what autism was, and I didn't know what sensory processing disorder was also, because we have that too. So I didn't know anything, and I was a parent in panic mode, because the worst thing is when you're helpless, you can't help your child, and they're right there in front of you and they're suffering. So I made a vow to myself where I was like, you know what? You played sports before as an athlete. Now it's time to be an athlete for your daughter's life. So what I did was, I put on that switch, and I started to do a lot of self-education. And then I took it a step further where we went to our first two therapies when we were diagnosed. And I was like, yes, we're finally going to start to make some progress. So, you had a choice. Do you want to drop your kid off, take off, come back in an hour? Or do you want to stay in the waiting room, sit on your butt, get a sore butt, read a magazine, play on your phone? Or do you want to go inside the room with the therapist and learn? So I chose the last one, to learn. And I took notebooks, I took pens, I took pencils, and I wrote down everything that we were learning, everything that was helping my daughter, questions that I had. And I would ask them, like, who else can I follow? Who's your mentor? What books do you recommend? Because I want to learn as much as possible to bring all this home for my daughter to help her out. Because when we started those therapies, she was nonverbal, so she couldn't talk in the beginning. So we suffered for a little while in our therapies, speech therapy and OT. OT was like, I fell in love with it because it's kind of like being a fitness trainer, but they're doing it with play type of activities that actually help them with their daily life skills. So now as we fast forward to what the book is about, the book is for parents to not be in panic mode like I was at the beginning stages where I knew jack squat. So I put a lot of information into the book, like you said earlier, is to introduce people to what is autism, what is a little bit of the history of that, what are some of the other types, what are some of the therapies that you can expect that your kid is going to go through for early intervention. And then it's about the star of the show, Monica, my daughter, is to share stories so people can relate and like resonate with some of the things that we go through, that they get to see that, you know what, we're not alone. Now we know some other people that are going through this, and now you get to dive deep in. You kind of get to learn about this girl, this beautiful girl, and we're going through the struggles that she goes through, and then you're getting to see like what are some of her favorite things she likes to do in life, and how the simple, special things mean the world to her. And then also in the book, I included some contributors, like in the health fields, in their respective health fields. Like we went to this brain therapy where they had to work different parts of our brain, because our brain gets stuck in certain places. And not to give it all away, but that was really helpful for us. So it's a lot of like natural type of things to help us out in our day. We have a massage therapist expert in there. We have a little bit of music in there. So just a lot of different components. So the new parents or the person who's interested in autism can just get a very diverse perspective and get to learn a lot in a short period of time, because the book is not a big, thick book, but it's a nice playbook to get an understanding of what autism is.
It's a great book, and thank you for writing it, because for me, like I mentioned to you before we started, is honestly, I didn't know a whole lot. And so for other people who may be listening to this, who just want to get a better understanding of what autism is and how it affects children and people to go about their everyday lives, how is the best way that you would describe it to someone like that, like me before?
Like if let's say you maybe you want to join us at the park. We're friends, right? And you wanted to meet Monica. I would kind of tell you some very basic things about us, like, some of our characteristics and why we act or do certain things that way. It's just what we do. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just our style. And I want to like educate and advocate that to people so they get on the same page, and now they're like, oh, okay. And then, when it comes to that time where we do meet up and we're at the park, you already have a good understanding of a piece of Monica. And then as we're at the park and we're doing like her absolutely favorite thing in the world, which is swinging, then you get to kind of watch our world where, we know playing is learning, playing is developing. So while we're swinging, we'll have a little conversation, and I'll kind of show you our world, how we bring in different components. Like when we're swinging, our brain and our body is like lighting up like a Christmas tree, because it's getting all this necessary input that she's craving. So that's where you want to take advantage and talk about some other things, have some conversations, things like that. Just add more flavor to the pot.
Yeah, you speak a lot about how movement is so important, and all the experts will always say, Jim Quick always says, when your body moves, your brain grooves, right? And so in this particular circumstance, it's even more important, like it, and even for her learning in her school and things like that, is activities and making sure that she's getting that blood to the brain. And I find it so interesting because, a lot of us, we live this sedentary lifestyle now, and the more that people are sedentary, the less energy they have, and they think, oh, I just don't have energy to exercise. Oh, I don't function as well. And then just something like reading your book just made me connect the dots. I'm like, well, look, it's very clear with Monica, because if she doesn't move and she doesn't swing and do the things that she loves, she literally can't, like, struggles to show up to that task, to that class, right?
Right. It's like so now we'll use it as an exercise example, which is like one of my favorite things to share. It's like when we go to the gym and do that workout, if we warm up first, we're more prepared for the workout, right? We got our body temperatures ready, we're more flexible, we're more safe, we're more prepared for the workout. So for us, like when we would go to school in our younger years, it was really important because with our sensory issues, the simple daily things in life, like tying your shoe, brushing your teeth, trying to eat something, trying just to walk straight and not be scared to walk on the ground. because we were a toe walker to begin with, because we were scared of the earth, walking on it. The surfaces are uneven. So what we did to prepare what our warm up is before we went into school to all that loud noises, bright lights, smells, different crowds, is we would get to school about 20 minutes early every morning, and we would go to the playground, of course. So the weather's good, we're at the playground. So we're doing her favorite thing, which is swinging. And that's good. She's getting this body awareness. Like sometimes, she may feel like part of her body is missing, like her feet or her hands, because those are the furthest extensions from the body, right? Yeah. Or maybe it's somewhere else in her location where her balance or something, she just doesn't feel it. So she needs that awareness, and swinging gives her that rhythm, that awareness that she needs. So like I just said a few minutes ago, now we're swinging. So one thing that we really like to do in our world is called role play, where Monica loves these different Disney movies. I can go on about forever about that. So I'll start making a scene about one of these movie scenes, and we'll make it into the playground. So that's a way I can naturally get her off the swings and go into the playground part and go up the steps, go down her favorite slide, which at one time was the twisty slide. So now she's getting a different type of movement for her body. Yep. And then another thing we like to do is we like to get a lot of touch. So we would drag our hands on the wall, and she would get a lot of touch input that she needed for her hands. So we would do that, and just a series of things like that. We would sing songs together. Like, music is really important to us. And music, another thing about music is it works both sides of the brain at the same time. And the one really cool thing about music also is that we know the words to our favorite song, of course. We know what it means, and we know how it ends. So that's another friendship that we have by bringing all these activities together. Yeah. And when the weather wasn't good, doesn't matter. We went inside to that hallway, and we would do some of the similar things. We would drag our hands on the wall, or I would give her a piggyback ride because she liked piggyback rides. I would give her a piggyback ride. I would tilt her head down, so I would be like, "Whoa!" Like we're at an amusement park. So I'm the ride. Yeah. And I'm tilting like, whoa, going all the way down. So now she's inverting her head. She's tilting her head. So there goes all that blood and oxygen to her head. She's getting all that information that she needs and that she craves. Yeah. And then she likes to go side to side. So I would tilt different directions. So there's some body awareness. I would slowly spin in one direction, because sometimes we like to spin. And then we would do other things. So that was, in a nutshell, a warm-up that really helps her succeed in that classroom.
That's incredible, Gary. I mean, how helpful has it been that you were a trained physical fitness trainer prior to all this, so you had some stamina to be able to keep up with your daughter, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a pivot, and I commend you for being so engaged and really devoting yourself to learning, because it is you really wanted to be a part of the journey. You didn't want to just be a bystander and watch on the sidelines. And a lot of what I've learned about you so far is just how creative you've been in the moment, like to be able to engage with her and just make her feel safe again, like you spoke about times where she has meltdowns, because this is quite a common occurrence with children with autism, right? So would you like to share that sort of scene where
Sure.
where you were able to help her through a particular meltdown?
Yeah, are going to the one where we're at the park. So at the park, we're outside. Yep. There's weather's unpredictable sometimes. There's crowds of people there. So she can read people that are close by her. Like a lot of our kids have those extraordinary powers that they can read everyone in front of you. So that's just like too much to process. Mm-hmm. So I was like nearby, like walking around the playground, and then all of a sudden I heard some screaming, and I was like, that's Monica. So zoom, I run up to the top of the playground. She's starting to hit herself. She's saying things like, I hate myself. I hate you, Dad. I want to cut your head off. And she's committing self-harm to herself. So, there's a chemical imbalance in the brain. They can't stop it. When it happens, it happens. You're at the mercy until it stops. Mentally and physically, you suffer. So they don't mean to do that. So what I learned was, this is against the grain, where we're not supposed to jump and involve ourselves in a meltdown. We're supposed to let a kid have space. We're supposed to provide a retreat until it's over. By the time it's over, we're really exhausted, and she's, beaten down to smithereens, because those meltdowns can continue to last with side effects throughout that day. It can go on to the next day, go on for a week, and so forth. Just everyone's different. So when that happened, one thing I learned is I brought in our Disney World, our role play, pretend play. And when she was screaming and attacking herself, I had to change the subject. And my gut feeling and my soul decision was like, you need to help her daughter and do some of that role play and find an activity to get her out of it. So I did. And, I'm an introvert, by the way. So I didn't care that people were around me. It was time to save my daughter, and people can just learn. So I was like, oh my God. So I get all dramatic.
Mhm.
Oh my God, Monica. And it starts to shift her mindset. And like, I cannot believe that, Hans, this evil guy in the movie Frozen, he threw Elsa in the dungeon, and that's her hero, Elsa. She was tied up, and he made a false story about her. I can't believe that Hans did that to her. And then she ran off into the mountains, and then her sister Anna went to go help her because she knew Elsa didn't mean to do that to her. It was a mistake. She couldn't control her powers. So I get really dramatic, and I do that movie scene, and little by little, Monica's turning the corner with her mind shift, and she starts to get involved with that movie scene, and she starts to gradually come out of that meltdown. So then I thought of another movie, because from a distance, I saw a soccer net, an orange soccer net. And I told myself, those are the tentacles of Ursula, the evil octopus in a Little Mermaid movie. So I was like, Monica, oh, wow. And every time I do something like that, she's like, what, Dad? She leans in. And I was like, Ursula's over there. She's the soccer net. And Ariel, the mermaid, she's trying to make her sign that paper, because we know that if Ariel signs that paper, Ursula gets to grab her voice box, take it away, and she gets to marry the prince that Ariel wants to. I was like, do you want to go help Ariel out and rescue her, Monica? And by that time, Monica's already into it. And she's like, yes, Dad. So she's not even a runner, per se. We ran down the playground. We ran to that soccer field. And I saw Monica's brother and sister come, because they're on bikes. And I said, come here, guys. I was like, huddle up. I was like, she's having a meltdown. Pretend these are the tentacles, fall down, help, Monica, let her rescue you. So Monica, one by one, was rescuing us. We were falling down on purpose so she can get that activity for her body by pulling us, grabbing us, squatting, bending, and coming out. By the time that happened, she was laughing. She was bursting up with joy. And we came out of the meltdown, and then she grabbed my hand and she said, Dad, let's go. And I was like, where, Monica? She's like, let's go back. I want to go swing. So we went back to that playground where this meltdown happened. She started swinging. She was back to herself. We started having conversations. And then she heard this. And she was like, and I was like, Monica, it's okay. Because I saw it happen. Like a really little kid fell down. It wasn't far, but his kids were right there. So it was a soft landing. They helped him out. I said, a kid fell, Monica. He's okay. His parents were right there. And she was like, oh, okay, Dad, because she gets worried because she's a loving and caring person. Yeah. So that's how we turned around that meltdown, and she got out of it.
That's incredible. And for me, that just really highlights the importance of state. You were able to really come in there and just try to refocus her attention on something greater than what was immediately going on with herself. That's fantastic. And these skills that you've acquired by being this superhuman father to your beautiful daughter Monica, I mean, I'm sure that translates into how you're able to serve your clients even to a higher level, right? Like, do you feel like that patience, you speak about patience, like you've been able to really harness that superpower?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it takes. That's what I had to learn with our life. So like, I have a couple of clients that are autistic, and like really quickly, like when we do a session, our warm up is not doing all the stretches and everything at first. Is we walk around the gym and do 3 laps, and we're talking about his favorite subjects, what's important to him. And then when we're done doing those 3 things, he's engaged and then we walk into that stretch room and do our stretches, and then we do our workout, which is very funny because I work out with them. And quickly what happens is I have all his adjustments, the correct weight for him to do each exercise on the machine or whatever. His thing is when it's my turn, it's a surprise for me. So I let him do it because it makes him laugh. It makes his day. So he said, "Come on, Gary." So I turn around. He's like, you can't look until I tell you." So I turn around. He does whatever he does to the machines. Most of the time, I get on a machine. We'll say it's the leg press, and I keep my eyes closed, so it's a surprise. And then when he starts laughing, so I already know what that means. It's heavy. So I start to, like, whoa, I can't even budge it. There's like so much weight on there. He has it all the way down where it's hard for me just to get in it, and he starts cracking up. Sometimes he'll trick me and he'll put no weight on it at all. So when that happens, I'm thinking it's heavy, and I practically jump, and we just laugh. So that's, we have a different kind of workout, but we get our workout in.
That's incredible. I love that. I mean, some people view it as a disability, but because I work with clients that have brain disabilities, and it really isn't, it really just helps you appreciate I don't know, it takes you down a lot of notches. It's like moments like that where it's fun, you're laughing, everything's a lot lighter, when people aren't so heavy with a lot of other burdens that, let's just say us able, like normal people are, right? Like I think I love spending time with people who are, quote, have some sort of impairment of some sort, because they just bring out the inner child in me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, like you said, because the world moves really fast. But when we're with our amazing clients and friends like that, you know, like you said, it's back to just being genuine, face to face, and it's a more enjoyable time.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that I was learning from your book was you were talking about, I mean, there are obviously the different sensories that sound, movement, but there's the component of nutrition, right? So as, fitness trainers, obviously that's something that we have to preach as well, as nutrition. And with Monica, you've really had to step it up all the notches, because, it's imperative that she eats well to be able to function at her best. So I think it's, for me, that's not a bad thing. That means that she's going to be showing up and she's eating the right foods. But initially you had some trouble getting her to try different healthy foods. Was that correct?
Yeah, because not all of our kids, but a lot of us, and that's us. We're very picky eaters, and we have different reasons for that. Some of it is the texture of the food, or some of us, we just gravitate to a certain particular food, and that was us in the beginning for quite a time. So, like you said, I had to figure it out. So, again, I brought in the pretend world, and one day I was just thinking about, Alice has blonde hair and a banana is yellow, so let me connect those dots. And I was just basically like, oh my God, Monica, you know what? Every time I do that kind of language, she pays attention. I was like, I'm gonna eat this banana today because you know what? I want Alice to keep her beautiful blonde hair. I want it to stay long. I want it to stay blonde. And I'm gonna do it for her. So I would, start to eat the banana. And then in time, Monica, one day was like, I'm gonna eat it too. So that was like the first step to trying out a different food. And like you said, to get, some good nutrition inside our bodies so it can help us out. Because when we eat, and it's actually really, to me, it's like the most important thing is that what we eat, as far as everything that we do, to go along with the play activities, is we have to eat as best as we can, because when we're not eating the right foods, like you start to figure out, like we did, what are the troublemaker foods that cause hyperactivities, that can cause a meltdown, that can cause a drop in energy. We know what to take out now. I would document and do that. And I went to nutritionists, and I continued to elevate my journey with the food. And so now Monica, she will, she eats more fruits and things like that. And we kind of use our story to go with it, but I'm just really proud of her. And I take it a step further, that when we go to like the grocery store and stuff, that I let her do like fruit picking. So now she makes that connection with food, and I'll tell her, hey, Monica. She's like, what, Dad? And I'm like, can you go pick? And I'll kind of like pause to make her engage with me in conversation. Like, what, Dad, what? And I'm like, and she's like, what? Say it. And I'm like, can you go get 4 of the most red apples of the apples that you like? And she'll be like, okay, Dad. So she'll go get those.
Right. And then that focused activity as well is in hunting down the 4 reddest apples as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love the creativity that you bring to all of the activities and the game plans, and there's a lot of strategies and planning that goes into just your everyday uh, life. Is that like correct?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is I have to get up early before Monica gets up, and I
Mhm.
have to prepare myself because if I don't take care of myself, what good am I to her? So I have to hold myself accountable. So I do a morning routine. I do stretching, I do exercises, I read books. I eat before she gets up, but I won't eat a lot. I eat a good portion, but I want to save my appetite so I can eat with her and have engagement. So I have to prepare myself, and I have to be disciplined and dedicated because, it's about, Monica depends on me. So that's what I do every morning.
I love it. There's so many different important elements to what you bring to her daily life that is important for all of us, and we've spoken briefly about the exercise, so exercise and movement in whatever shape or form. We haven't talked about, having a hardcore session in the gym. We've talked about stretching, moving, swinging, doing things that you enjoy. And then nutrition, how important it is to eat the right foods that help you function at your best, because children with autism are more prone to be, sensitive to foods. And like you said, you've been documenting and taking notes of these troublemaker foods that make her not feel as good and not show up correct. And this is also very prominent in our own lives, because if we don't eat the right foods, we don't function very well either. So there's a lot of correlation here, because even though the main topic we're talking about is beautiful Monica and autism and these sensory things, it's so much that we can bring to our own lives as well. And now that you've taken it upon yourself to ensure you fill your own cup, which is very important, not just for for someone who like me who doesn't have children yet, but parents to give themselves that time to fill their cup and make sure that they're whole in who they are, so that they can show up completely for their children. That's fantastic, and I want to honor you for doing that. That's just an amazing habit that you've taken upon yourself.
Yeah, thank you. And what it's done for Monica, because I, keep keep track and notice all the little things, the changes that happen for us, is that it's helped her out with all those things, and it's helped her out where she's more sociable. I've noticed just all these things combined. Like she now, like we make friends everywhere. Like she has a script of like questions she asks people. So, let's say we're at the Dollar Tree, which is one of her favorite stores, and she'll tell the cashier, "Hi, I'm Monica. I just had, I just did so and so. What's your name?" And then they'll respond, and she'll be like, what time did you get up this morning? And then she'll be like, what time do you go to bed? And she has her little series of questions, and then they remember us. And then now she can because she couldn't do a lot of these things back in the early years because we couldn't even talk.
Mm-hmm.
But now she can do those things. She can buy her own stuff. Like we do money math at home. We do a lot of basic school facts, and then we take it out to the real world to get that experience. So now, she'll buy some things that she likes, like at the Dollar Tree. And what I like is that pretty much all the time the cashiers are very patient with her because they can see that she's doing her math, and she has a little wallet, and she's doing her counting on the counter, and
Yep.
she's looking at the cashier, and she'll ask them like, what was that again? And she'll make sure she's giving the correct change. So I'm just really proud of her for just breaking all kinds of barriers, because she's doing the work. I may help her out with it, but it's her doing it that is just amazing to watch, and to see her become just a beautiful young woman now, because now she's 15, she's a teenager.
Wow, that's incredible.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, but also you're her idol, Gary. Like you said so earlier, like that you're an introvert, right? And yet you were there at the playground, not making a scene, but definitely out of your comfort zone. And there she is. She's mostly out of her comfort zone when it comes to communicating with people like that. And let's be honest, most people don't like communicating a whole lot. And I'm sure that when she comes up and she's like, hi, like, hey, tell me about you. And people are like, well, this is not, I don't get this a whole lot, but it's actually really nice, to be able to converse with people in that way.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, people can feel her energy. They can feel her vibe, and that's likewise for her because she can take it up to the next level where she can read everyone. And I think that's what we need more of in the world today
Mhm.
is, more people, like you said, icebreaker, saying hello to someone, just having a little conversation that just makes, the world a better place. And the energy that she brings to the world is so positive and it's really embracing.
What do you admire most about Monica, Gary?
Um, I like that she's so creative. Um, she loves art projects and she likes to make art projects and give them to people as gifts. So she goes out of her way and she'll tell me, like, she's very blunt. She's like, Dad, I'm out of this and this. We got to go to Dollar Tree. I'm like, all right, Monica, make your list so we don't forget. All right. And, I'll give her reminders. She gives me reminders. And just that she has a big heart. She has a big heart. She likes to do things for others.
As do you. So now you're on this mission, and what is that mission, Gary?
For me, it's to get uncomfortable. And right now, like being on this podcast is something I would never do. Really quickly, I almost failed high school. I flunked English class a couple of times because I didn't want to get up and speak. And I had to repeat that subject and even put me in drama class, which is worse because now everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
So for me now is to break out of that shell and to speak on stages and to share our story and to get my project that I'm making into the school systems and other places just to because I want to just bridge that gap because there's going to be more and more kids diagnosed with autism across the world because it's global.
Yeah.
So I want to take that first step and bridge gaps and fill in those holes where now people can get an understanding of what it is so we can be there for our kids.
Right. That's perfect. And that's what you do with your course? Is that the STAR program?
Yes, that's what I created it for is because I just I see gaps in the world
Mhm.
and I just want to I want to be remembered for a lot of things, but this one is a real passion for me is because it's hard for kids to be at a place like school where
Mm.
it's a different kind of world. Like we have structure and routine at home, but once you're in that school and it's just a different world with your classmates and teachers and it's going really fast and you can't keep up and you're suffering and maybe nobody knows that it's not their fault is to educate other people so now we can make friends and our kids can have support and they can have their best time possible at these places.
Amazing. And so for anyone who is that mostly for parents, can teachers and other people, would they all benefit from your program?
Right, like especially the new parents who have a child diagnosed and also teachers because teachers they have enough to do already.
Yeah.
They do what they do. They work a lot of extra hours and it's real helpful on both ends if we can share some information to help them out so they can help out our child. And then it's just it's what we need on both sides just to make it a better situation for everybody.
I think it's important, and I honestly have valued from reading your book personally. So I would highly recommend anyone getting in contact with Gary, if you want to find out more about his book, his program. It's exactly what you said. Teachers have much more on their plate than have to study, and learn. And you've spent years, over a decade now, honing in on this and finding your best ways to tackle it. So tackle each day and show up your best self for her. So I commend you again for your work. And I think it's, if I can help you in any which way, I will, Gary, and you showing up and showing that you've had to, you know, come out of your comfort zone to even be here. And funnily enough, we both show up with the similar background, which is hilarious. But it just shows that we really are on a similar wavelength and in wanting to help people the best way we can in bridging those gaps. So a question I
100%.
ask everyone, Gary, is what does summoning your superhuman mean to you?
What does it mean to me? It's rewarding to me. It's like a trophy inside my head that I know if I can make a difference in one person's life, that, you know, I've done my job while I'm here. And it's just that's the way I want to show up to the world. And I just want to keep getting better, you know, keep learning, keep being a student and being a practitioner, just make a difference in the world.
Fantastic. And you are doing exactly that. Gary is summoning his superhuman just to even be here for us today. So thank you so much for being here. And I honestly really highly recommend everyone contact Gary if you want to learn more about autism. He's the man to go to. Thank you so much for being here, Gary.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.